Alright, hello and welcome to the video that no one expected, no one asked for, but it's here anyway, and this is a boring PowerPoint presentation on a browser game that came out 2022. I think it came out in 2009, so around 13 years ago. So yeah, and the motivation for this video is I've been in the competitive scene. I don't know if that's what you'd even call it. I've been playing this game for a long time. Uh, and this is one of those videos, it's like one of those videos where someone has weird insight into some random thing that like you'd never otherwise even know existed. Like it's like some obscure speed run skip for like a game no one's ever heard of, and like the history, or like some, I don't know, something like that. Okay, get the point. But this is an intro to competitive Grepolis, so yeah, let's see what we got. Okay, so what is Grepolis? No pictures, by the way. I couldn't be bothered to put in pictures for some reason. So it's a city building game, you build up a city, you have a bunch of different buildings, you build an army, that kind of thing. It's an RTS MMO, real-time strategy. Yeah, we'll explore what that means later. It's heavily team-focused, and it's an intense game. We'll go into all of this, but yeah. So, RTS MMO, what does that even mean? Well, game actions happen, or they resolve in real time, essentially. And what that means is if I launch an attack at someone else, that attack is going to land a certain like time after I launch it based on how far away from them they are. Like regardless, it's always going. That's just how it works, yeah. And that's the next point, Perpetual World. So basically, the short rundown on this is the game's always on. People can always attack you. Attacks can always land. Well, I mean, there's some caveats with that, but yeah, the game's basically always on. So the pros and cons. What are the pros and cons of the game being always on? I see these like mobile ads, and one of them mainly for this game called Rise of Kingdoms. Maybe it's like the successor to this game, or I don't know, yeah. But it's pretty similar. And one of the ads is like how this like major alliance was like bullying everyone, but they were all on EU, so they like attacked them at an EU like while EU was sleeping or something, and then bam, they got them because they were all asleep or something. Awesome. And that's kind of the fantasy, I guess. You're rewarded for strategic timing, is what I wrote down here. Now, what does that mean? I mean, it means you plan around people's schedules. I mean, it's interesting. It's completely different from how normal games are played. Like you play a game, and then you stop playing, and then you're done. It's kind of different, and that's kind of cool in certain ways. I don't know, it gets you a lot more invested in the game. But the con is that you get punished for being offline. And why is that? Because everyone can attack you while you're offline. So, yeah. Yeah. So let's go a bit more into it. So what does it mean to be offline? Well, first of all, the most important thing you can do if you're being attacked is communicate to your teammates, and they'll help you out from there, basically. So that's the most important thing. Most people have Discord, and yeah, they have the app on their phone. So you know, if you're out and about, you can still respond to things, stuff like that. Basically, yeah, as long as you're like showing people that you have access to the game, it's like you're not completely offline. So yeah, yeah, that's basically it. But here we come to offline hunting, which is basically how you punish people that are, offline. They can't do anything. So in competitive servers, you want to punish people when they're offline. And the reason for that is because if they're online, they can do a lot of stuff to stop your attacks. It's infinitely harder. But if they're offline, they can't do anything. They can't call their teammates. They have no clue what's going on. So, it's like yeah. And this is where information comes into it. The game's really all about information, and good teams will be probing. You want to be collecting that information. You want, like, if someone's offline, you want to be able to figure that out because the game doesn't tell you. So it's something you kind of have to poke around for. And if someone does find someone offline, usually that's going to get posted to Discord, and then you're going to have like a bunch of people jumping on a bunch of their cities. So yeah, that's kind of how it works. Oh yeah, and back in the day, you used to have heat maps, and what the heat maps would do is basically whenever you took an action in a certain hour, it would like kind of count that. So you'd basically have like a bar graph. I forget what the correct chart is, but it's a bar graph of all the hours in the day, and you could chart the player's activity in a heat map on those hours, and you would kind of know their schedule. You'd know when people are going to sleep, stuff like that. But yeah, they kind of got banned. So yeah, no more. You have to track that manually, I guess. I don't know if you want to do that. So we know you get punished for being offline, but the question is how hard you get punished, and it really depends. It depends on your position. If you're on the front lines, you can get punished pretty hard, and you probably will get punished pretty hard. It depends how long you're offline. If you're offline for like 1 or 2 hours, it's probably not that bad because, I mean, how much can people get together in 1 to 2 hours to get you? But it's more like 6, 8, and people find out you're offline early, then yeah. And it depends on server settings, which we'll go into later. And it also depends on defensive preparation. Basically, what this means is if you're on the front lines, your cities are never empty. You kind of have what people call static support, which you always keep in there just so that, people can't jump on you instantly. But yeah, so usually there's a lot of situations where it's not punishing, but it can be very punishing. And going back to people offline hunting, basically, if someone finds out you're offline and then a bunch of people jump on you and then you're not on for a while, that's when, multiple cities are getting torched. And that means you're going to have to be making a lot of forum posts, a lot of communication, sometimes the dreaded table, which is basically a forum post. Usually forum posts consist of templates, which is like, what's your wall level? What's the god of the city? And you can just kind of fill it in. But if you have like 10, 15 cities that each need an individual template, then that's a lot of posts, that's a lot of templates, so you have to make like a table to kind of condense the information. Yeah, it's kind of annoying, but yeah. And you'll need defensive resources, regular resources, yeah, so that's how it is. So we've kind of been talking about the cons of the game being perpetually on. So how can we mitigate these cons? Because for most people, it's too much. You're telling me I can't take a few hour break from this game at any point, and these servers last months. So yeah, keep that in mind. So there's a few things. There's peacetime, where basically it's a few days. There's no attacks. I think they do Thanksgiving, Christmas. Maybe they skipped Thanksgiving last year. I forget. But yeah, they did Christmas. So yeah. There's peacetime for those holidays. There's vacation mode, which basically you press a button and then 2 days later, you can't be attacked. You can't perform any actions in the game. It's kind of like, you're gone, I guess. And you have a limited amount of those. I forget how many it is per year. I have no clue, but yeah, limited amount per year. There's the revolt system, which I won't even go into. There's two systems, conquest and revolt. And in conquest, you can lose a city basically instantly because of, or not instantly, but in a much shorter period. In revolt, basically what it means is you always get a 12-hour window to mount a defense after an attack lands before they can take your city. And there's also night bonus, which basically means during the night, all your defensive units have doubled defensive strength. So it's not like you can't get attacked. People still attack during the night. They probe around, see who's offline. Sometimes you take saves during the night if they're not well defended, but usually you don't want to attack during the night. And this is almost always 1 to or 12 to 8 a.m. EST. It's usually always the night bonus time, so yeah, solid 8 hours. And then there's world speed, and that basically affects like how fast actions occur, and what matters for that is the travel time, because if the movement speed's really slow, that means it's going to take someone maybe, even if they're close, it's going to take 2 hours to land. So you could be gone for that 2 hours. And even if they realize you're offline instantly, you still have time before the attack lands to do some stuff. Yeah. So this is about the intensity. So why would I say this game's more intense than other games? First of all, Perpetual World. So, the game's always going. That makes it intense. And then servers last for months. Servers are it's like a world of the game. That's a bad way to explain it, but it's like one match, I guess. I don't know how you explain it. And that's a lot of time for, people's motivations to dry up. I mean, it's hard playing this game every day. I mean, it's, for months at a time. Yeah, it's a lot of time. Real life events happen to people that they can play less, stuff like that, and there's a lot of time for drama. And then Red Revolt. That's another thing that contributes to the intensity. If you get revolted, if your save gets cleared, there's basically a 12-hour period where you kind of have to be on guard, where people can take your save. Usually it doesn't matter. It's not like you have to be active that whole time, because usually what happens, especially later in the game, is the sea is just going to get stacked with defense, and it's going to be so much defense that it doesn't matter. They're not even going to try to attack you. So, yeah. But sometimes, you have to be watching. And there's no action limits. It's not like one of those mobile games where, you can you have so much action energy or whatever. People can send as many attacks as they want, and they do. Sometimes you'll have I don't think I've ever had hundreds, but you can have hundreds of incoming attacks, and it'll literally lag your game and make your timing stuff a lot harder. So, and this is basically comes down to people love pointing all their offense at one player, because there's only so much one player can do in terms of responding when there's so many people piling on them. They can already write so many templates. The idea is basically you want to overwhelm one player. So yeah, that's a common strategy. And also spam, which is supposed to be, it's not allowed in the rules, but I wouldn't say it's there's different types of spam, and basically how spam works is most people, if they see an attack, they'll get a phone notification, and they'll try to respond. They'll see if it's a decoy, if it's a serious threat. And how spam works is basically people maybe once every hour. If it's worse, they can do every 5 minutes. That's super egregious. But yeah, and there's a fine line, because there's information you gain. You can tell if people are offline if you attack them every hour, stuff like that. But yeah, so yeah, it's basically you can get attacked constantly. So now we get to kind of the fun stuff. It's really team focused, and usually the teams are 30 to 100 players, depends on the settings, depends on the groups. stuff like that, and they communicate in the forums and now on Discord or Skype, mostly on Discord, but some people use Skype. And servers usually have like alliance size restrictions because yeah, I guess people would all just join the same team if I don't know. But yeah, so usually to get around that, because people like having bigger teams. I mean, depends how many good players there are on a server, how many like active people, but they'll have like sister alliances, which is basically just another alliance that like they function as one, it's that kind of thing. And the teams and their relationships are really like the key to a game. Like any server, how interesting it is, in my opinion, completely depends on the teams. Like if there's a lot of good players and they're spread out over different teams, then you can have a close game. You can have like multiple factions that could win it, stuff like that. Usually, in my experience, there will be like two teams that have a chance, and then halfway through the server, it's pretty obvious which one's gonna win. So yeah. But I mean, there are worlds where there's a lot going on, and there's a lot more to consider, and you actually have to think about like, should we make an alliance with these people? How well are they positioned? Are they weak? Stuff like that. And in that kind of zone, you have NAPs and packs. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, but non-aggression packs, we're not gonna attack you. And then we have packs like we're working together. We're sharing intel, stuff like that. And there are like degrees between that. Like maybe like we're sharing some intel, but like we're not gonna help you out defensively, stuff like that. And then it's a team game, but there are solo players. But the thing is, solo players, I mean, they don't really affect the outcome of the world at all, which is fine. But in most cases, they either turtle their cities so hard, so many defensive units, that it's not even worth going after them, or they're so small that it's not worth going after them, or they're just food for larger teams to eat. But if they actually are good players, and a lot of them are, a lot of good players decide to, play solo sometimes just for fun, then yeah, they either get obliterated or they're not touched. But yeah, you're living in your own world if you do that. And yeah, a lot of them get picked up by teams if they actually want to play the world. So yeah. Now we're going to talk about team formation. And basically, being a strong player, this is weird to say, but you have to have two of time, money, and skill or experience. And basically, yeah, if you have those things, you've probably been playing the game for a long time. The game doesn't get that many new players, so you probably have played, you've probably won a lot, you've probably played with a lot of different groups, and you probably have a lot of good friends that also have these things. So these players, the idea is these players tend to form groups together, and these groups are going to be really strong. They're going to have multiple wins. They've all been playing the game for years together. They have good synergy. They have like set up leadership structures, so there's less drama, stuff like that. Oh, I went backwards. So then we come to Premades, which is basically, you decide before World opens. They'll announce it like a day or two before. You get your gang together, you see if they want to play the world, and then you all play the world together. That's how it works. And these groups have a few advantages. As I said before, these are going to be like the most dedicated players. You're going to have like most of those, because most of I mean, that's just how it is. And then you also get a second advantage of positioning. And I really should have pictures to explain this, but basically how it works is you're on islands. And once you spawn at world, you can invite your friends to spawn near you. And if you're in a premade, that means you're inviting all your premade teammates to drop in on the same island as you. So what that means is you basically have like a core of cities that are all on the same island, all bunched together, which just straight up gives you a huge advantage. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how I feel about that personally. But it is what it is. That's how the game is played, and yeah, you have a huge advantage. And also, since these teams have all the good currently active players, then all the like all the solo players, all the like good players that don't have a group yet, they're probably going to be absorbed into one of these groups because they want to be on a team that has a good chance of winning. So yeah, now the actual fun stuff, the history, the trash talk, the drama, all that stuff. And there's a lot of it for this game because it's really a game about storylines. And what that means is like, how teams rise up over the years, like making a comeback in a close world where people thought you weren't going to win, teams imploding, stuff like that. And people love talking shit on the forums. I mean, that's how it is. To be honest, I never judge people in this game by how much of a cocky asshole they're being on the forums, because literally everyone does that. Not literally everyone, but most people. It just how it is. And unfortunately, people don't really talk as much on the forums. I mean, there is still trash talk on the forums, but mostly people, yeah. Yeah. And yeah, lots of drama. And I would say I've been involved in a moderate amount of drama. There's one server with a lot of big drama, but the thing is, for me, I am not really into dwelling on the drama because, to be honest, most of the people I have nothing against, I still like them, so it is what it is. But there's drama, yeah. And the last thing I'll say is there's a lot of strategic depth. Like the game, it's very simple to learn the meta. Like there's like 3 defensive units that you use, and yeah, or land defensive units, and then there's like, yeah, but it's pretty simple. But there's a lot of room for expressing your style. You can play defensively, you can play offensively. Most good players will have some mix, but not all. I mean, there's great players that are defense only and offense only, and it depends on your team. Sometimes your team needs a specific type of play, but yeah, there's a lot of strategic depth to the game that, yeah, there's a high skill cap. Lots experience counts for a lot. So yeah, thanks for watching. I might do another video on this game. I don't know. This is just, yeah, a primer, or I don't know. Yeah, thanks.